the emotional side of Quaid-e-Azam's personality that makes him the best role model. It was Bombay in 1929, and the subcontinent's top lawyer was deeply saddened. His political career was about to sink and he left for London a few months later in a state of despair. This lawyer was Muhammad Ali Jinnah. His wife Ratan Bai Riti was found dead in a hotel room after taking a handful of sleeping pills. The reason for this is still not clear. His romance was the subject of many heated controversies. In one of his last letters, he wrote to Jinnah, "My beloved, try to remember me as a flower that you chose, not as a flower that you trampled on." The marriage of Jinnah and Ratan Bai has been described by Sheila Reddy as a shocking marriage in India. Even better writers than me have written on the subject, but it is not possible to fully describe the beauty, pain and confusion behind this marriage. However, for Pakistanis, understanding the personality of Muhammad Ali Jinnah is very important. One of the many contradictory aspects of his personality is always overlooked. The Jinnah was known as a self-contained and quiet man, saying that he was seen crying only twice in public, the first time in 1929 at Riti's funeral and the second time in 1947 when he last cried. Went to the grave of MC Chagla, writes about Riti's funeral. "It was the only time I saw Jinnah expressing human weakness." Not everyone knows the fact that as a young student in London he wanted to play Romeo in the Globe. Look at the persecution of circumstances and times. The love story that started like a fairy tale ended in a tragedy that could match any of Shakespeare's plays. This is not just a matter of losing something. The evidence shows that the Jinnah was guilty of his responsibility. Jinnah was 24 years older than Riti. Riti's father was a Parsi with whom Jinnah had befriended even before Riti's birth. Riti used to call Jinnah as J and travel around the world with him on holidays, arrange big parties in her bungalow and also had a great hand in the specific style of Jinnah's personality. But it was difficult for a person like Jinnah, who was engrossed in his political struggle, to support the nature of Riti. Thus the distances keep increasing. Many years after Riti's death, Jinnah confessed to a friend that, "She was a girl. I should not have married her. I made a mistake." It is difficult to imagine Jinnah's lowly personality, but it is true that the year after Riti's death was the most difficult period of his life. During this time his movement in India was also shaky, so he left Indian politics and went to London for the purpose of advocacy. According to Hector Bolitho, this period was a period of order and reflection in Jinnah's life, a phase between his initial struggle and the storm of victory. Although he had returned in 1934 to achieve this victory and the difficult period had passed, perhaps his grief was still fresh. Jinnah's driver said that even 12 years after his wife's death, sometimes he would get up at night and order to open a big wooden box in which his wife's belongings were kept. She kept looking at these things in silence until her eyes got wet. This gentle aspect of Jinnah's personality has been largely ignored. We elevate those within us to the level of guardians, but the problem is that the common man cannot become a guardian. In the history books, our heroes are portrayed as undoubtedly determined and a mountain of perseverance, individuals who are determined to work tirelessly to achieve their goals. Although the imagery is based on good intentions, it is a profound betrayal of his character. Quaid-e-Azam is not our hero because he has no flaws, but because he had the ability to overcome all these flaws. Presenting them without these flaws is actually depriving yourself and your children of a good role model. A role model who is sad, has a sense of guilt and has faced a failure that he hated, but he did not give up hope. He overcame the impossible and made history by changing the geography of the world. For our future generations, such a role model will be more effective than an emotionless picture that sees them in their textbooks.